Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys are having a better day than the markets did today, because today was a bad day. So let's take a look at what we got going on. We're going to take a look at the markets, regular markets. Bitcoin and Ethereum were both down. Miners were also down today, except for two. So we'll look at what's going on there. We'll take a look at Bitcoin as well to see what's going on with it. Where could it possibly end up at before it bounces? So we're going to get into all that. And we also have a couple of news stories here, which is on Terawulf is one of them. They provided an update for the 50 megawatts at Nautilus mining Bitcoin facility. So that's ahead of schedule. That's good there. We also have Iris Energy providing that they're getting to 5.5 exahash installation update. So that's great news for them. Both of these guys have power agreements that are behind the meter next door to like nuclear facilities. So that's kind of interesting there. So we'll take a look at that. And then we also just have really quick, we'll go over Cipher. I've updated the dashboard for them. So we'll look at all the numbers there really quick here on this, and we'll call it a day. Okay. So as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice, for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And I'm investing in finding coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out. Let's get into it. And here's what we got going on in the markets right now. So the S&P was down 0.59% to 4,129. Dow Jones was down 0.33% to 33,786. NASDAQ was also down today 0.78% to 12,985. They started out the day much worse, but they ended up a little bit better. So I guess that's the only good news we have there. Bitcoin was also down today quite a bit here. I put in some lines here for the daily and the 200 weekly moving average. The 200 weekly moving average is the red line here. And we can see here that Bitcoin did break through our support, which we thought was going to be supported at 28,600 roughly. And it fell quite nicely below it here. It closed today down 1.95%, down to 28,248 is where it closed. It's down again a little bit more right now. We can see on the daily chart that we can still possibly go down a little bit more. If we look at the weekly chart as well, we can see that that one was getting kind of high a little bit here. So we expect a little bit of a pullback, which is kind of nice that we're seeing it. We can see that we're going to have a red week here where we've had 3 green weeks in a row, but we're going to have a red week. So that's not too bad. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we can see that the RSI has been coming down here. But when we look at some of the points here on the RSI at like 29.30, we got one here. Bitcoin price was lower than where it was back here. So we still have that pattern of going down. And we can see it coming up here as well. We're getting pretty close to that 29 mark here. Bitcoin price was lower than it was back here. So that trend is going down on the 4 hours. We also see that on the 1-hour chart here. And it's a little hard to see with all the daily lines here. So I'm going to turn those off. But we can see here that Bitcoin on the 1-hour chart bottomed out here roughly at approximately, well, I can't even see that low. Let's see here, it is at 24. It was back here at 24 as well. Price was higher at that point. So we still have that downtrend as well on the 1-hour chart. Until we get a reversal on this, I think we might be coming back down lower. And where are we going to be heading possibly? Well, that's where the daily lines come in also, because we broke through the 20-day moving average here. So that got nullified. We broke through our support at 28,600. Our next possible bounce might be on the 50-day moving average, which is our light blue line here. And if that doesn't hold, I would expect us to possibly bounce off of the weekly 200 weekly moving average, which is at around 25,875, somewhere around there right now. And if that doesn't hold well, then we're going back down to our previous support here, which was at 23,800. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And that's based on the 200 daily moving averages right around there as well. Okay, so we got a couple points where we can kind of see where it's going to bounce off of before we go back up. And I would expect it to possibly bounce off of the 200 weekly moving average here. We can see that the RSI on the daily has come down here. If we come down a little bit more, I think we would get down to that part to possibly go back up. But we'll see. We'll have to see how that one is going to play out. It's not an easy thing to guess on that one. But right now, it looks like we're going down. Okay, next is Ethereum. Ethereum is also right now below the 20-day moving average. It closed, well, it was up a little bit today. I thought it was down, but it was up just barely 0.43% on the day to 1,943. When I checked it, it was actually down, but it's down now, right now, a little bit as well. So it's below the 20-day moving average. This one, the RSI is also at 59 on it. I would expect us to possibly go back down even more, but let's take a look at the 4-hour chart as well. 4-hour chart on this one has also been kind of low here, and price has been going lower while the RSI has been going higher. So that makes me think we're going to be going down as well, along with the 1-hour chart. If we look at it, we can see that the price of Bitcoin, get rid of the daily lines and the 200 weekly moving average, we can see here that the RSI is much higher now than it was back here, and price is actually lower. So that's why I'm thinking we're going to be going down as well. This might be one of those times where we just need a little relief rally, and taking out some of the steam in both Bitcoin and Ethereum, which would be good. I don't have a problem with that, as long as we bounce off of those lines that we spoke about earlier. Okay, so let's take a look at the miners here right now. Go into the daily, and we can see that most of the miners were down today. Annie was down, or Sphere3D was down negative 3.55% to 42 cents. Argo was actually up 0.69% to $1.46. Bit Digital was down 16.10% to $1.72. Bitfarms was down 8.97 to $1.07. It's still above that dollar range here, and it's been above that range. Let's see here, since when? Since right about here's when it actually kind of went above it. So we'll see if we can maintain that. And that's been how many days now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're getting really close to those 10 days that we need for the reset on the NASDAQ. So we'll see if that happens or not, if we're going to fall below, which would be a shame because we've done that a couple of times already. Okay, Cipher was down 4.49% to $2.34. CleanSpark was down 12.56% to $3.90. Kind of expected it, had a huge run up here in the last couple of days, so a little pullback is fine. I'm looking to buy a little bit more. We'll see if I can do that tomorrow. Cores was down 11.45% to 34 cents. DigiHost was down 5.91% to $1.75. DMG was down 3.21% to 23 cents. Greenidge was down 8.51 to 58 cents. Hive was down 7.73% to $3.34. Hut 8 was down 8.99% to $1.72. Iris Energy was down 7.44% to $3.98. Marathon was down 10.69% to $9.52. Mawson was flat on the day at $3.25. Raya was down 9.99% to $10.90. And Soluna was actually up today 6.26% to 27 cents. And Stronghold was down 7.41% to $1. And Terawulf was down 2.05% to $1.43 on the day. So that's it for the miners. Like I said, pretty bad day. We've had a pretty rough couple days here this week, but I think we're just having a little bit of a correction. Nothing to get too overexcited about. Possibly a good time to dollar cost average in if you're still above your average on the cost. So not financial advice. Do your own research as always. All right, so let's take a look at the news stories that we do have here. First one being on Terawulf. So Terawulf announces full deployment of 50 megawatts at the Nautilus Bitcoin mining facility ahead of schedule. So that's great there. We always like to see when things get done ahead of schedule. So they're kind of competing here. It seems like Terawulf and Iris are competing to be the first behind-the-meter Bitcoin mining facility powered by 100% nuclear power in the U.S. We've seen this also in Iris Energy's statement, I believe. So that's great there. Terawulf benefits from a fixed power cost of only 2 cents per kilowatt hour for a term of 5 years at the Nautilus facility, which is great. And the company remains on target to deliver 5.5 exahash, 50,000 miners at 160 megawatts across its 2 sites in Q2 of 2023. So we still have a little bit. We're only in April, so we still have May and June for them to reach that, which I think they won't have any problem reaching it. So Terawulf today announced that the company has now fully energized its 50 megawatt stake in the Nautilus crypto mine facility, a joint venture with Cumulus Coin LLC. The Nautilus facility represents the first behind-the-meter Bitcoin mining facility of its kind, directly sourcing reliable, carbon-free 24/7 baseload power from the 2.5 gigawatt Susquehanna nuclear generation station in Pennsylvania. The company successfully deployed its full share in phase 1 of the facility, 50 megawatts and 1.9 exahash ahead of schedule, which was great there. So I thought this was good news for them. So they're going to have a pretty good, sounds like they're going to have a pretty good April here as far as growth is concerned. Okay, so that's great for them. And we'll see how they can continue to grow. Next is obviously Iris. Iris provides 5.5 exahash installation update. So they've been also growing quite nicely here recently. They report 4.6 exahash operating, additional 0.9 exahash pending installation, and then 18.4 million AEP refund received. So that's great news. They're going to have quite a bit of cash for them to either pay off debt or grow even further. So the 5.5 exahash installation update, Iris Energy is pleased to advise that it has increased its operating hash rate from 3.6 exahash to the current level of 4.6 exahash as part of the company's recent announced increase in self-mining capacity to 5.5 exahash. That's kind of in line with Terawulf as well. All remaining 0.9 exahash of miners have been delivered and are pending installation. So that's kind of like similar to what's going on with Terawulf here. It seems like that they have pretty much the same thing, I think. Let's see here. They didn't say about how many they have left. Yeah, but the 1.9 was what threw me off here. So that's great there. 160 megawatts of data centers supporting 4.9 exahash is available immediately, with commissioning of the first 20 megawatts at Childress, supporting the remaining 0.6 exahash expected immediately. So that's great news there. And then the 18.4 million AEP refund received. The company is pleased to advise that it has been refunded the 18.4 million in deposits by AEP Texas. These deposits were previously paid by the company to the AEP Texas and have now been released following energization of the 600 megawatt bulk power substation at Childress and completion of the connection of the site to the ERCOT grid. So that's great news there. Man, that's a lot of change though for a deposit, but 600 megawatts is a lot. So, but it's good that they got it back. Additional share acquisitions by director. So this is interesting also that somebody's been buying up shares like crazy here, it seems like. And the company also advised that on April 18th, 2023, an entity affiliated with Mr. Michael Alfred, a director on the company's board of directors, acquired an additional 50,000 of its ordinary shares for consideration of approximately 232,530. Since March 13th, 2023, the relevant affiliated entity has acquired 480,461 ordinary shares in aggregate for a total consideration of approximately 1.5 million and change. So somebody definitely believes in this company greatly to be showing out that much. I'm sure they're going to look to maybe 5x it, 10x it in the next year and a half to 2 years possibly. So if they 5x it, they're looking at $7.5 million roughly from where they are right now. Not a bad return if that's the way it goes, right? Not financial advice. You guys always got to do your own research. But nonetheless, this is interesting. You know, these guys are a little bit newer here. Iris and Terawulf both came on the scene pretty much last year, and yet they are doing a lot better than some of the old guard, which we have as Hive, Hut 8, right? Those guys have been around since 2017, 2018. They're struggling to get above 3 exahash in some cases, and even get to 4 exahash. Well, these guys here are brand new to the scene and are basically doing a fantastic job. So maybe some pointers from the old, some pointers they could take. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm getting a little confused. The old guard could possibly take some pointers from the new guys, okay, as far as how to grow and grow rather quickly, because we do have that halving event coming up next year. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. And let's take a look at, next we're going to take a look at really quick is Cipher. So I've updated Cipher. My plan is to update these spreadsheets every day, at least one miner, while we go through this the remainder of the month here and get into May. So that way when we get the April production updates, we'll have everything here. We'll update the numbers here and we'll have a nice updated dashboard for everything. Okay, so Cipher, we've gone over this before. You guys know how many shares are outstanding. The stock price right now is at $2.34. Market cap is at 581 million, half a billion roughly, which is really good for them compared to where they are right now. And I think the investors are definitely giving them a lot more future earnings growth potential than some of the other miners that we speak about, such as Bitfarms, CleanSpark, some other ones as well in here. Okay, current hash rate is at about 4.7 exahash, future hash rate about 6 exahash. They have about 1.2 exahash left to get installed. And we can see here that their monthly BTC mined has been growing nicely. The only thing is between July and around November is where they were mining with a joint venture where they were getting 49% of the stake, which wasn't being reported really as revenue, but more or less being reported as assets. So that's kind of throwing some things off. December, they started to do some of their own self-mining, which we can see obviously a nice increase there of 129 Bitcoins being added that month. And then January obviously helped out as well as they have continued to grow here quite nicely. Okay, BTC, HODL, and market cap, what that entails. So HODL position right now is about 2% of their market share. Their market share otherwise is 97.91% of everything else. Hash rate left, we already talked about that one. BTC HODL right now is 427. They did sell about 451 Bitcoin here last month, and they mined about 413, so they sold more than they mined. And then when we look at the month-over-month difference as far as how much they've mined Bitcoin, they had a really good month here in December where they grew quite nicely, and then every month ever since then has been coming down a little bit. But their hash rate has also been kind of coming down a little bit as well. They grew quite nicely here in the beginning of the year. BTC HODL, you can see that's been going up as well and kind of averaging right around 420 roughly. It's been kind of averaging, which is good to see as well. So they do have plenty of HODL that they can utilize if they need to. And then efficiency-wise, we've seen this with other miners as well. Efficiency was coming down for them, and it is coming down for other ones as well. Not a big threat there. BTC sold, it looks like they sold 313 in January, 357 in February, and 451 in March, which is fine. But because based on their growth, I can see why they're selling it to obviously fund growth and pay expenses, so that's fine there. And then when we look at hash rate and revenue here, we can see how quickly their hash rate ramped up here, especially in December. They went up 1.8 exahash just from nothing. That's basically a little more than half of where Hut 8 and Hive are at right now. So yeah, about half of where they are. Hut is at 2 point something, Hive is at around 3. So like I said, a little bit more than half of where they are. And then obviously beating them in just another month, they just beat Hut 8 and Hive on their hash rate here really quickly. And then you can see it has continued to go up, but we've seen smaller increases as additions to each month. So we started at 1.8 exahash, then we went 1.4, almost 1.5, 900 petahash, 520 petahash, and we'll probably continue to see that come down a little bit here as they basically fill up as it is. Okay, monthly revenue, you can also see that that has been going up quite nicely here. Like I said, the beginning of the year, July through right around November, was their mining of Bitcoin, but it was through a joint venture where they have 49%. That wasn't being reported as revenue, it was being reported more of an asset, but I did have it here as far as, because they did report what they mined, more or less, so I kind of broke it out across those months. And then you can definitely see here in December through now March, they've had a really nice increase in revenue based on their own self-mining as well. And I still have a little question on that, whether or not that entails some of that joint venture Bitcoins are added to that as well, which could possibly drive their self-mining revenue down. But we'll get clarification on this when they report their Q1 results, and we'll see actually what that entails, okay? Hash difference, we went over that. Bitcoin sold value, they sold about 11.3 million last month, 8.3 the month prior, and 6.3 in January. And then the last 4 quarters revenue, we really don't have a lot of data here. We only have Q4 for them at 3 million roughly. This current quarter that we're in, it's estimated to be about 23.5 million, but that's based on all of the Bitcoins that are reported. Like I said, some of those Bitcoins could be part of that joint venture, which would be reported as assets, not revenue. And then last 4 quarters operating costs, very low costs here of operation in Q4. They were still, getting things energized, getting things ready for the real big push here in December. So that's why the costs are pretty good. Other metrics we can see here, cost to mine 1 Bitcoin. That's not going to be accurate based on that they really just ramped up production here in really December. So $1.9 to $2,000, that seems really low to me. I'm sure we're going to get a little bit better numbers here when we get through Q1 numbers for them. Bitcoin mined quarterly, also 378 for Q4. That was just that 1 month of December, so we'll get more data as that comes in. Debt to equity ratio, we do have some of that information provided to us, and we can see that that has been increasing. So it's still not too bad, but lower is better on this, and current ratio, higher is better as well. They started out 11 in Q1, and they're down to 1.18. And we can see that based on the total current assets, those have been coming down to 47 million here in Q4, while total current liabilities has been increasing to 40.3 million. So they do have enough, at least one time over, to pay the current debt with the current assets that they do have. Now institutions, as far as institutions are concerned, those have come in kind of up and down here. We only have really 3 months worth of data on this, but we did have in, let's see here, this was in February, February. They had 27 million shares owned by institutions. That went down by almost half here to 12.8 in March, right? Do I have that data right? Or was that January? Well, that would have been for January, yeah, because when I checked, these are for the month of January. So this would have been for month of January, February, and March. Same thing, up came, they actually stayed the same, but the percentage went down, which leads me to believe that they had actually less or a little bit of dilution with their shares possibly. Price targets are still pretty close to where they were. We do have only 1 buy rating for them with a $3 price for the high, $2.90 for the average, and $2.70 for the low. They're currently at $2.34, so they're within that kind of analyst ratings. I have actually $1.73 to $1.15. If we use the 50% net income at $1.15, that's kind of where I'm looking at with a P of 20, because they have been growing quite nicely. But it looks like the analysts are giving them a little bit more than that based on possibly future growth, which if you look at it, right, the last 3 quarters, they only generated about 5 million in revenue, but just this current quarter that's estimated, we're at about 23.5 million. That's a huge growth for them. And if you use that going forward for the next couple of quarters, well, you can see how the price of the stock right now is at 234 because they are getting a lot of, benefit from that, right? Future possible growth. And sometimes they're being valued like that. Sometimes the miners aren't being valued like that. So this is just the way they're being valued. I think they're a little bit overvalued based on my numbers right now. But I think some of the institutions and investors are valuing it more on future growth than the current growth or current revenue that they have right now. Okay, and that's kind of how I value them. All right, so that's it. I mean, other than that, I think that's all the metrics we have here. Then we got raw data as always. That's going to be down there. And it's a great way to kind of take a look at all the information here. So tomorrow we'll probably do bit farms, and the day after we'll do bit digital, then we'll go Argo, and then we'll go to the right side of the chart as well. So let me know what you guys think of all this. And as always, this is going to be available to my Patreon members, which that has been growing really nicely. So thank you to everyone there that has joined and is supporting the channel that way. You will get access to this later on tonight, along with anything else that I update. So thank you so much for being a member there. Thank you so much for watching also. I hope you guys did enjoy this. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, we'll see where Bitcoin goes. We'll see where the miners go. Like I said, I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback in Bitcoin. We'll see how far down it goes. But nonetheless, I think it's a healthy pullback a little bit to give us more room to run up in the near term. I still think price target for Bitcoin is right around 40,000 by the end of the year, potentially. We may be in some choppy waters here through, especially the summertime. Summertime is usually pretty choppy. And then as we get into the holidays as well, but we'll see. I'm kind of guessing 40,000. If we get above that, I'll be happy, but that's kind of my low price where I think Bitcoin will be, okay, by the end of the year. So that's it. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night. Bye.